Like, don't just grab the house because they're letting you get it. Don't think they're trying to do you a favor. Don't think they're trying to be nice to you for no reason.
Right,
they're doing that so
out.
they can get you trapped up in these bills and this money that you owe them, and then they can collect on that stuff. You got the mortgage insurance, so they're betting on you to lose. So they want you to go for they want you to forfeit on the house. That way they get literally all the money from the bank. They get all that money, and then they can resell it again. That's the only reason those programs exist. So they're not doing anything special for you. They're not trying to help you out to be cool. Man, it's a setup.
Definitely.
It's 100% setup. All you got to do is have this much insurance, and then they help you get the. Why do you think they're trying to help you so much? So you can get in the house, and then you owe them, and then they can get that money when you fail on the house because they know you can't afford it. Because if one thing happens, it's a wrap. If your car breaks down, if somebody gets sick, if anything happens, you can't take care of that household because everything is stringent on the next paycheck. You don't have anything saved up. You don't have any type of contingency plan. It's all set up on you failing. So for me personally, I'm not going to buy a house unless I got 20 to 30,000 at least in the bank at the minimum. And that's being nice.
Saved up for the rock and roll. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just trying to build my credit, and I do want a house, and
and I'm not mad.
I just want to wait. You know what I'm saying? I want to wait too, like you said, because I want to have something put to the side. Not only that, I want to be able to get it at the right interest rates. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to just get it at the entry level.
So the interest rates aren't like cars. So it's not like it's car hop and they'll charge you 27% interest or anything like that. The interest rates are basically set for everybody. It's just about you getting in there. So the interest rate isn't the issue. It's everything they add after the interest rate that they charge you for. So the interest rate is a trick. So they make you think that the interest rate is good, but the interest rate isn't what's really kicking your butt. Is that it's like the housing. I mean, it's the property tax, depending on the area. It's a whole bunch of different things that they'll get you on. Some people paid off their house, but they can't afford the property tax.
Yeah, because that's like a monthly bill. Sometimes quarterly, depending on where you live.
No, it just depends on if you don't pay it. Don't forget it, and you got $3,000 in.
Depending on where you live, though, how they bill you your property taxes. Yeah.
So I mean, your property tax for a year can only be $3,000. But if they say you owe me $3,000 in 30 days because we didn't tell you owed us this much, and now you got to come up with $3,000, that's how you get foreclosed. That's what I'm trying to say. This housing market.
On some real stuff, they will do that. The city and the government will do that. They'll make a mistake. You'll be like, okay, because I done had this happen to me before. I give you all my paperwork. This how much money I owe. Okay, fine. Then they'll make a mistake. Come back a year later, like, well, we had a new worker come on, and they realized that the worker last time made a mistake, and they didn't really calculate that. And you got 30 days to pay us this money that you owe.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
But they do that for houses.
Or what you can do is we'll make a payment plan for you, and then you'll pay it back on a payment plan. Like literally, that's how they got it, bro.
I'm telling you, that's how they got these people. They like, once again, this housing market is crooked unless you have a whole bunch of money. If you're rich and buy a house, it's perfect. It makes so much sense. But when they be trying to tell poor people all you gotta do is buy a house, they're not telling them the whole story. All right,
see, I'm about to call DJ Envy.
You got a raggedy house. Yeah, but he has money. This don't apply to him. If you got a raggedy house and something's breaking and it's cold in there and the heater's broken and this and that, you can't do nothing with it. It's pointless to have that house. It's better off you getting an apartment. That way, if the heat go out, they can fix that and you don't got to pay for it. If my oven goes out, they can fix it. You ain't got to pay for it. I don't got to drop $20,000 because of even though it's only 3.5% for FHA. Don't forget closing costs, because that'll add another $7,000. Because that's the closing cost is the same percentage as the FHA loan. They don't tell you that.
Yeah, they got but what you gotta because you don't qualify.
They got programs and stuff that you can get that'll help you cover it. But you're in, and that's what I'm trying to say. The only way you can afford it is if you can't afford it. That's the whole point. Yeah. Your income has to be so low that if anything happens to you, it's a wrap. And they're betting on something happen because guess what? That's what the world is set up with. A whole bunch of fouls, a whole bunch of falls, and a couple stand-ups. You get 1,000 no's for every one yes. That's how the world works. It is what it is. So if you think that these people got all these programs and all this other stuff to make sure that you're great, I don't believe it. I don't trust it.
All right, we're going to jump into it. I'm going to do the intro, even though we're going to keep that part. I'm going to just do the intro. It's Real Family Therapy Podcast. It's episode 10. We got Are You Serious in the building? We got DJ Double OG. We live. I'm from the crib today. Something's going on at the radio station. So I'm just podcasting live from the crib.
OG. Yeah, what's going on? It's your boy D.O. Double G with the deep voice for your ladies.
You know, something I don't like listening to my voice when I replay it back.
Son, I hate listening to my voice.
Yeah, man.
And mine's just too high because I try to compensate. So usually what I do, once again, because of work, I go like this. I raise it up a little bit when I'm talking, when I have meetings. But normally when I'm just regular talking, it's like this. I don't add no bass to it. I don't do no time. But usually when I'm doing a meeting, I'll lighten it up so people can hear me, they can understand me, they can it's
because if your voice is too deep, it sounds like mumbling. That's what happened on the last episode.
They
My voice
don't
deep,
know what
it just
you're
sounded
saying.
like mumbling. Yeah.
You know me, I run a lot of meetings, so I have to naturally, when I'm talking to an audience, I raise my voice so they can understand me.
Inflect your voice. Yeah, Dad is, I don't know, maybe hopefully he'll pop up sometime soon during the episode. He probably out here doing player stuff, doing players do. Today, we just real quick getting into a couple of things. It's going to be a short episode. We just talked about housing a little bit. We heard Marvelous Marvin Hagler die. I don't know what TV show he was on. I thought he was Tommy Hearns from Martin, but I guess I was wrong.
I think,
but maybe
once
he was
again,
in that
maybe
episode,
he was in that episode as just like
he
backup.
Might have been. Yeah, I think Marvelous Marvin Hagler was in the same episode as Tommy Hearns on Martin. I'm hoping that I'm not wrong. And what's sad is this man had a beautiful boxing career, one of the greatest to ever do it. And I know nothing about him because that was in the 70s. The only thing I remember when his name came up and I seen that he passed away was an episode of Martin and him wearing a long trench coat, which is sad.
I don't think that was him. But shout out, maybe. That definitely wasn't him.
Since I'm in Minnesota, you know, we broadcast live from California and Minnesota. I definitely want to talk about Minneapolis settling the lawsuit with the George Floyd family. Minneapolis settled for $27 million. Benjamin Crump said, it's not about the money, it's about the policies. The money, yes, it's going to secure a legacy for his family, but the policies don't. And then I was listening to a podcast. Shout out to the North Star podcast. This dude, somebody Ali. Wow, man. He like, yeah, well, you know, the family should be happy that George passed away because that's probably the most money that he ever is gonna get him, and that's the best that he ever gonna have. And he was a bad father before he passed away, and now he's probably, you know, a good father because he did and able to provide for his children. And
what Coon said this? No, I'm saying.
It's funny you said that because
what Coon said this?
He hates when people call him that because he's married to a white woman, right? So he hates.
I don't know. That ain't got nothing to do with him being married to a white woman. It got something to do with some saying Coon stuff.
It's just funny that you said that because when I watch his podcast, he hates that.
Who says that?
That's what he said. He said that, and it made me think, right? Like, you know, does he have some truth to that?
No,
you know what I'm saying?
No. Being married to a white woman does not make you a coon. Saying and doing coon stuff makes you a coon, and that is one of the most coonish stuff I heard. What did Pops always say about money? You know, you got problems when you got a problem that money can't solve. Money can't solve his death.
True.
Money can't solve the hurt of the daughter not knowing when it's father-daughter day at the dance. I mean, father-daughter dance, and she doesn't have her dad there with her. You can take all that money and throw it in the air. We've already had the conversation about how I feel about money. I think it's trash. I think it's a made up craziness. Like we literally are basing our lives off of a magical number in a computer. Okay, cool. But like I said, I think I don't. Nothing that he said is legit. Nothing that he said is legitimate. You don't know what could have happened. You don't know what the possibilities are. You can't tell. Once again, Steve Harvey was homeless in a car until he was in his late 40s. And then 30s. All of a sudden he blew up, or 30s, excuse me. 30s. And then he blew up and became Steve Harvey the millionaire. So you can't tell me what somebody can and cannot do. Tim the Two-Man Taylor was a crack dealer or a cocaine dealer and was in jail for selling cocaine. Because we always talk about all the black people that did something. Let's talk about these white folks that be acting crazy out here. So Tim the Two-Man Taylor, Tim Allen, was selling coke in these streets, went to jail for selling coke, and then he became the family man that everybody loves that does the tools. But he was out here pushing weight. So I don't want to hear anything about somebody not being able to do something or what they were limited to based off of their current situation. You couldn't have told my dad years ago that he would have 2 master's degrees at the age of what? Thank you. So no, everything that he said is trash. You don't know. And unless he got a magic ball, he wouldn't be on there talking coon stuff because obviously he ain't psychic. So he don't know.
You know what? I never thought about it the way you just said it, but that is true. Like,
and that's off the top. And that's off the top.
You never know. You really never know what somebody can accomplish because you don't know what can happen in my life. I can blow up next year and be super rich. And, you know, right now we doing it like this. Next year I'll be in a mansion doing this. You know,
never know.
You never know. You can't say. Now, 27 million is a nice little chunk of change, and it's never going to bring George back. But what happened to George impacted the world.
Yes.
Like the whole entire planet was affected by what happened to George Floyd. And that is more important than any amount of money that his family can get. His impact on Earth, he literally changed policies, like Benjamin Crump said. His death changed the way people look at policing all over the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't like Rodney King, where people just seen it for the first time. This one actually affected changes that possibly put Biden in office instead of Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying? It changed the way people think about the racial structure in this country, the way we treat people. It changed the way the NBA does business. It changed the way everybody that you think about now all of a sudden is conscious of the way they treat black people. So
Son,
in fact,
I was on
George Floyd is big.
I was on TikTok University the other night. Okay. And they got one series.
Were you a TT?
Yeah, so they had this one series on what chain of events is crazy. So it was talking about how the Buffalo Bills missed a catch that put them in last place for the season, which gave them the #1 draft pick, which then gave them O.J. Simpson, which then O.J. met Nicole while he was in Buffalo, which then transcends over to him killing or whatever, or them allegedly, because he didn't do it. He's innocent. I think it was his son, but that's a whole nother conversation. Yep. But who did he hire as his lawyer? Kardashian. Kardashian then turns into has 3 daughters. That daughter has a sex tape with Ray J. She blows up, which then creates millionaires, which then creates the whole dynasty of the Kardashians. So if that dude didn't miss that one catch, we wouldn't have had that whole trail of events. Because he would have never been in Buffalo. He would have never met Nicole. He would have never had to go to court. He would have never, Kardashian would have never been hired, and we wouldn't have known him for that specific trial, and so on and so forth.
Which would have never made him, yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to say. You never know what one little thing can do.
That's true.
So it's like, with the George, I only say that once again because of the George Floyd thing, is it's like you said, it's so impactful and it's so crazy. That literally that event wasn't little, obviously. That was big and that was crazy and that was traumatic. But one thing can change everything. So we don't know and we never know what's going to happen. Like, we never know.
Yeah, so right, he can't really say that. What's up, Dad? We see you jumped online. What's going on, Dad?
Forgot about y'all. I'm actually on the road, so.
Okay. Well, if you feel like jumping in, you can. We're gonna be brief today anyway, because Reggie got a couple things we got to do. But do you have any opinions on the $27 million settlement for the family for George Floyd?
Children or the whole family?
Cha-ching.
Tell Mom I said what's up, Mom.
Hi.
Hey, Mom. Hey, Mama. He ride with his lady.
Yeah, 27. It's somebody. Thing is, he ain't collecting it, but somebody's collecting it. So that'll be another fight between the family.
True.
Yeah, it just depends on how they distribute that money and things like that. But yeah, hopefully it's not too bad because it's like, I mean, y'all didn't have it before, so stop tripping like y'all had it. Like it's a big deal after. Like what you get is what you get. But once again, I don't care about money, so that's my opinion.
Yeah, and it is going to be a little controversy because we heard about his strange relationship with his family, and then his tight relationship with his sister, but his other brothers and stuff. We don't know what's going to happen, but I'm just glad that they got something. It also means that the city of Minneapolis had to pay. They had to be responsible financially for taking this man's life. And like we said, the death of George Floyd changed the world. Way more than $27 million would ever get. In other news, speaking of George Floyd and changing the world, I wanted to talk about the same thing that you just brung up. Are you serious? It's really, really crazy. I just want to talk about the Martin Luther King's traffic ticket changing history. So I was on U.S. News by the Associated Press, and they have a story on the traffic ticket from May 4th of 1960, where Martin Luther King Jr. got pulled over that actually changed the world. So I don't know the backstory. Dad, have you ever heard the story of Martin Luther King going to jail over a driving ticket?
I never heard of him driving nowhere.
So
always marching.
Always marching. So on May 4th in 1960, Martin Luther King Jr. was hosting this white woman for a dinner at his home, right?
Excuse me?
His family, his woman was there too. His
I don't
wife
care.
was there.
Dangerous. But go ahead.
So let me explain. So they were having dinner at home. The lady was helping him on his campaign, and she was also a cancer patient. So he was praying for, ministering to her. He takes her home back to her hotel so she could finish her cancer treatment. The white lady and Martin Luther King are driving in the car. The police pull over Martin Luther King because he has a white woman in his front seat. They pull him over, take him to jail for not having a valid driver's license, even though his driving license was valid. Right? So after they take him to jail, he's sitting in jail. He had to pay a fine of $25 to get out of jail. They let him out of jail. But what they didn't tell Martin Luther King is that when they let him out of jail, he was on probation. And if he commits any other crime, then he has to go to jail. So they didn't let him know he was on probation. So then he marched or had a sit-in at a protest. And when he went to the protest and had a sit-in, they arrested him for violating his probation and sentenced him to jail for 4 months. So at the time, the election was coming up. So it was Nixon and Kennedy were going for the election. So Nixon, all black people at that time supported Republicans, or mostly black people supported Republicans. Martin Luther King Jr.'s father actually endorsed Richard Nixon right before this incident happened. But when Martin Luther King was jailed, they reached out to Richard Nixon, and Richard Nixon didn't say anything because he didn't want to upset his white voters in the South. But John Kennedy called Martin Luther King Jr.'s wife and reached out to her and asked if there's anything that he can do. So at the time when he called her, Robert Kennedy, John F. Kennedy's brother, was upset at the aide for giving the number because he's like, you just ruined the whole election by doing that. So John Kennedy and Robert Kennedy got into an argument over John Kennedy reaching out to Martin Luther King Jr. Mm-hmm. But because John Kennedy reached out to Martin Luther King Jr., John Kennedy made Robert Kennedy call the judge that sentenced Martin Luther King to jail for having an invalid driver's license, even though he had a valid driver's license, had to release him. So they released him from jail. That made Martin Luther King Jr.'s father, who was the head of the church, the biggest church in the South, change his nomination to John F. Kennedy instead of Robert Nixon. And right before the election, all the Black churches in the South were handed pamphlets telling about how caring John Kennedy was and how he reached out to Martin Luther King Jr. and how Richard Nixon said nothing in the face of discrimination. And it made the votes flip. And John Kennedy won the election by the electoral vote in all of the places that they put these flyers in the Black churches. And it also, ever since that day, changed the way Black people in America have voted. And now we vote Democrat, not Republican, whereas before we used to vote Republican. So that's the story of how Martin Luther King getting a speeding ticket changed history in itself right there. And I never knew that story at all. I never knew he was in jail for 4 months.
Wow.
And that's why.
Yeah, I never heard that story. I didn't know he drove anywhere. They never showed him driving nowhere.
After that, he didn't drive. And after 1962, he stopped driving.
Because, for him to get pulled over with a white woman and he's still alive, that's a big thing right there.
That's very
survive those situations.
That's a troubling sentence that we have to say. Like that's depressing. Like if you really think about it, the fact that he had a white woman in the car, we automatically are like, well, I'm surprised he's a lot. Like that's crazy. That is crazy.
1960, that's the way it was back then.
Yeah, and then you still have people that publicly deny racism or something like that. Obviously, they're doing it for a reason to push an agenda, but it makes people believe it. And it's like the fact that we as people, especially Christians, the whole point, once again, of the Bible is love and compassion and showing people that we care about them and doing for others as though they will do it for us and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, what Bible are they reading? What morals do they have? What type of people would do some type of these type of things? Like what? Like, and it just shows you the gravity of the power and how sickening it is. It's like, goodness, like for what? For what?
Mm-hmm.
You got to remember, this country was founded on racism.
That's what I'm saying.
The country had over 180 slaves when he died.
Yes.
And his big thing was he let them go free when he died. Well, he was dead, so why would he care? As long as he was alive, he had them slaves. And it was illegal, really, in the state he was living in to have slaves. But because he was president, they didn't say nothing about it.
Well,
so that's the country that we live in, that was founded on stuff like that.
I know her first name is May, but there was slaves in the 1960s, right?
Yeah.
May Lily, she's the last recorded slave.
Yeah, I think we talked about that in the episode
and it's like,
past. Yeah.
It's like come on, like when Martin Luther King got pulled over, she was still a slave. Dad, you were alive. Wait, you were alive. Mom and Dad were alive when we had slaves still in America, and people are like, I
believe there's still slaves out there. Me and Charlie just watched the movie last night where this man held his daughter in the basement for 17 years.
Yes.
And had 4 kids by her.
And got caught going to the college campus.
His wife was living upstairs. Didn't know. So white people can hold a whole lot of stuff that people don't know about. That's going
you saw
on.
Is that movie Antebellum? That just came out last year.
No, Daughter in the Girl in the Basement.
No, I'm just saying you guys should watch that movie because it touches on that. Where literally now today, black people are, in my personal opinion, is because of all the homeless situation. I think there are a lot of different wild situations out there that involve homeless people that no one's addressing right now. But I think in general, I think there's a lot of slavery going on, like you said, right now, currently. And who's to tell them they're free?
Yeah.
All these backwood places.
If you can't read and you don't have a television, how do you know what you are, where you are, what you're doing? So if they keep somebody illiterate and keep the news out of their ear, then they can do whatever they want with them.
Listen, I got a whole nother theory about what we know and what is actual. So I mean that's a whole nother conversation. But we can talk about space and actually what we think is there and isn't. They just found a purple squirrel. I mean, we don't know nothing about this planet, let alone what's out in the universe. So we are limited to what we know, what someone's told us is true.
What you just say? They found a what?
There's a purple squirrel.
A purple
they
squirrel.
Just found a new species of squirrel that's purple.
What?
Naturally purple.
White squirrel.
I wonder what that tastes like.
But I'm just saying in general, it's like I think we're limited to the information that somebody has provided us. So we think we know so much. And that's why I always say the more you learn, the more you know. You don't know nothing.
True.
That's why they can keep. That's why like Trump has already mastered that. If you keep telling the lies enough times, people will believe it. And that's so it ain't what they know, it's what they think they know.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally.
You gotta research everything.
You know what though? Sometimes when I think about it, I think about the future, right? So now we got cameras and we got everything recorded and we got it stored. So 200-300 years from now, they'll be able to look back and see an accurate depiction of history versus our history 300 years back. Only thing we can go off is what somebody telling us, right? We can't really trust that the writings of 300 years ago were accurate. That was somebody's perception versus 300 years in the future. They'll be able to see accurately because we have video.
You sure?
Unless somebody destroy all the tape. I mean,
no, it's the narrative of the tape. It's the context of the tape. Same way that we can look at the Rodney King beating and be like, that's terrible. And somebody else can look at that same tape and be like, well, he deserved it. So it's not about what you see. Once again, it's not about what you see. It's what you believe, what you saw. So you can take
somebody will look at that and say, he's trying to kick them bullies. No reason that he's trying to hit him. He's trying to kick him. Look at it.
You have people that are justifying George Floyd's death. Well, he was on drugs and this and this and this, and he was on that. Once again, it's the context. It's not what you see. It's what you tell them they saw.
Oh, they
so
tripping.
So video means nothing.
They tripping. Let's get into something else, man, because I'm mad. One of my favorite gospel artists, the only gospel city I've ever heard before, is in hot water right now. And it makes you think why he's been so hip this whole time, right? So Kirk Franklin is in the news. He's in trouble. And it's kind of weird and it's sad. And maybe they need to come to Real Family Therapy and talk about it. But Kirk Franklin's in the news for an argument that he had with his son. His son, 33 years old, grown man, and he posted a video of his argument with his parent. Did you watch the video? Did you hear of it, Reggie?
Yeah, I heard it.
Dad, did you hear it?
No, I haven't seen it or heard it.
Yeah, Kirk Franklin and his son got into an argument, and his son posted it on Instagram. And in the argument, Kirk Franklin's just cussing his son out pretty much and telling him stop.
Okay, if you think I'm ready to let me say it like this. When your start getting to get your skinny ass back out the damn way before I put my foot in your ass. Because I dare you. I dare you. I dare you. I dare you. Look, I'm old. I will punch your neck, nigga. Don't you ever disrespect me. I did it. He just hung up the phone. I'll break your neck. Is that a threat?
But my point is, his son is a grown man. It's not no little boy he's talking to. This is a 33-year-old grown man. And if Kirk felt that disrespected, he got the right to respond any way he wants. For one, because that's his son. And for two, because he's 33 years old. Like, he grown. Like, it shouldn't even be, I don't know. It shouldn't be that much arguing and fighting. I don't think Kirk's issued an apology for the language that he used, but not for arguing with his son. You know what I'm saying? He just said that his son got issues. He kind of put it off on his son. His son got issues. They've been trying to get him treatment. He's not accepting the treatment. And the son is like, you know, y'all won't let me get no pictures. That's what he complained about, pictures in his post. And I haven't seen my family in 14 years. And the last time we took a picture was for People magazine. To me, it sounds like the son is mad because his dad didn't give him no money or something. And he's trying to go out. I don't know. What's your opinion? Are you serious?
I mean, for me, that's their business. I don't know. I can't judge how I mean, would I like them not to be cursing and yelling at each other? Of course. Do I tell people how to raise their children? Because if somebody told me how to raise my child, I'd probably be offended as well. So once again, I don't know. Do I think it's right for him to cuss him out? No. Do I think that two grown men acting up? I can see how that happens in this world. Is it my method? No. But do I see how it does happen? Yes. Do I think it's okay to a degree? No. Do I think it's okay to another degree? Yes. So, I mean, that's why I'm saying, like, for me, I don't condone it. I'm not like, yeah, it's cool, because that's still your son and that's still your father. So neither one of you should be cursing at each other, period. Neither one of you should be yelling at each other, period. That's just not how I think it should work. But I can see how it could get escalated to that point, because everybody doesn't live in my head. So, okay, I mean, I can see how it gets to that point, though.
The posting it on social media, what do you think that came from?
It came from, it came from this generation. That's how people express. Like, it didn't happen unless it's online, which is weird.
But he's not that much younger than us, though. Like, he's 33, he's around the same age. Yeah.
Once again, yeah.
You can't say it's that generation, because I would never argue.
No, I said it's this generation in general, as in, like, nowadays, this current atmosphere is based off of social media. I think too many people put too much out there, and you can't take it back. Once you put it out there, it's out there. You can't take it back. And I personally am, you know me, I'm all about my privacy. I'm not secretive, I'm private. There's a big difference. You don't deserve to be in my information. You don't deserve to be in my life. You don't get that information. Why do I need to justify me eating my cereal in the morning to you? If I pour the milk before or after I pour the cereal, what difference does it make? But for somebody, it's always going to be an issue no matter what you do. So for me personally, I would rather protect my sanity, my family, the people around me, and especially the people that I love, and keep things indoors, opposed to exposing it to everybody. And now everybody has an opinion about you. Because I told y'all before, the idea of you only applies to you. You don't look that way. You don't come off to that way to anyone ever. The way you see me, Aaron, is completely different. The way mom sees me, which is completely different the way that dad see me. No one sees each other as the same. So for him to put that out like, oh, everybody's going to come and have my back, and that's why, no, for what? It doesn't help anything. It does nothing for you. Nothing. Because what do you want somebody to pat you on the back and tell you, yeah, you were right? Who cares? I don't care. No one cares. And the problem is that with this video, people turned on him.
Yeah, because why you posting that?
No one's mad at Kirk Franklin. They just looking at you like a fool because you tried to put your dad on blast, and they's like, well, I mean, and so me personally, do you need to be putting out all your business online? No, for what? Right. I think people that petty that do that. I think you need mental help if you continuously do that. Personally, like why do you keep putting your business out there?
I just never seen nobody get real help from somebody putting their business out on the internet. You know what I'm saying? Like it's something people talk about like us. So we talk about it because it's easier to talk about somebody else's business than your own business, right? It's always easier. So we talk about your business because they give us something to talk about other than our own business. But really, nobody really cares at the end of the day. Nobody cares. So you're not getting what is he looking for other than maybe to tarnish his father's name? And at this point, just because he's cursing and he's Christian doesn't make, I don't know. See, maybe I don't know, when Dad gets back on, that's a good question to ask Dad, right? Because I think maybe the reason why he did it is because he thinks that, you know, putting Kirk as using curse words take away from his Christian status.
That's it.
And I think maybe 50 years ago, that might have done that. But in 2020, we realized that that's the least of our problems is the pastor using a curse word when he's talking to his son. You know what I'm saying? In a heated discussion, like
that's not different if he was on the pulpit. Then it's like, whoa, player.
Right.
Like, what is it? Like the cursing pastor, but that's that's him. I can't tell that man what to do. And again,
I seen a video of the cursing pastor. Yeah, he be going in though.
But I'm just saying, like, we can't. Like, it's always interesting to me about Christians. As being a Christian, it's always funny what we choose to condemn somebody about, right? So there's so many in the 10 Commandments. There's greed, envy, jealous, like all these different things in the 10 Commandments, and we ignore them as if they're not, you know. But then you got the Pope talking about we don't recognize gay marriage. Are they supposed to? Like, why do y'all expect these Christian churches, especially the Catholic Church, to support gay marriage? What are you expecting? Why are you look? I would not go to a KKK member and look for acceptance. That's not my spot. That's not where I'm going to go wrong. Not saying that the KKK and the church is one and the same. Please don't go there. But I'm just saying in general, I'm not going to go somewhere where they have publicly said that this is not something that we condone, and then get surprised when they publicly say we don't condone it. Why are you going to the Catholic Church for your verification? I mean, for your to be recognized or whatever the case may be.
All right, so as a father, we was talking about Kirk Franklin getting into the argument with his 33-year-old son. His son posting it on the internet, cursing him out. They was going back and forth. What's your opinion on the whole situation? Have you heard about? But you haven't heard about it though, so I don't know. What's your opinion anyway? Just from hearing us talk about it.
My first time hearing about it, but it was what happened was a private situation got turned public. That was just private. That was between him and his son, but his son decided to put it out there because he wanted to embarrass his father.
Right, that's the only thing we was thinking.
So, when you're in the public eye, you got to expect you got to watch out for that kind of stuff because, you're in the public. So if your kids want to get even with you, they're going to blast you out in public. That's happened. He's not the first gospel artist or gospel person that's happened to between their kids. That's happened several other times in a lot of different pastors. So, it's just, the Bible says we don't fight against flesh and blood.
The spirits and principalities.
Powers, rulers of this wickedness of this age in heavenly places. So, the battle was took in there and then went to the air on Facebook or whatever you put it on. But,
right.
Yeah, that was a family issue between those two that the son must have felt that he wasn't winning. He put it in a place where he know he can win.
But he lost.
And he lost at the end. So let me ask you this, because some of our listeners have heard us say it before that our mother is a pastor and you associate pastor of the church. So let me ask y'all this. We just said this, that 50 years ago, I believe that would have ruined Kirk Franklin's career as a man of the cloth and a gospel singer. He's not a pastor though, but he's just a gospel singer, somebody who claims the faith. So it would ruin his credibility. Now I believe in 2020, it does not ruin his credibility as much. But what would you guys say? What's your opinion?
Well, Kirk Franklin has faced things worse than that.
Yeah, he did the cheating, the porno thing, the whole nine. Yeah,
this ain't nothing new or fantastic, or just another thing you gotta go to.
Ain't nobody looking to Kirk for to be a spiritual guidance. I tell you, just keep yelling on them songs and coordinate.
Just keep the music coming.
Yeah, he just famous for using somebody else's voice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm finna share this thing, the video, and then we're gonna talk about it. Then we're gonna get up out of here. This is something that Are You Serious sent me.
And then there's Tim Scott. Tim Scott is the only black Republican in the Senate, telling Fox News, of course, Fox News, that what he calls woke supremacy is as bad as white supremacy.
Woke supremacy is as bad as white supremacy.
So, Dad, did you get to hear that a little bit or see it?
Yeah, I heard it on the news before, but I still don't know what woke supremacy you're talking about. I don't know what that is.
I don't know. Supremacy means you have some type of power to do something.
But I didn't know what was they talking about. What's woke?
Like, I'm with Pops. Like, I don't know what that is. But once again, it's coon stuff. Keep coming back to the coon. Like, people, once again, they keep finding that one black person that's going to say something to make them justify their hate. And we keep giving them reasons to justify their hate. So that's why I make sure that I cover certain things like last episode or whatever the case may be, because I don't want them to try to use us to justify any form of hate. So I don't want them to be like, well, you should have just not talked, or you should have, nothing that I could have done justified a cop killing me outside of me literally trying to threaten their life, right? So that's why I try to make sure that a lot of situations, we don't give them justification for out of a black mouth to hate and to fuel the reason why they hate. Because a lot of times there's always some black person being like, well, and then the white person will be like, see, they said that. We didn't say that. They said that. So that must be true. No. So for him to say that, he just they're using him to hate himself. And it's stupid.
Woke supremacy, but he does talk about white supremacy and how white supremacy has affected, I don't know, everything that goes on. Affected the fact that you're only one of 11 black senators all time in a country that elects senators every 2 to 6 years, and it's been around for 400 some years, and you're only the 11th one. Like, white supremacy controls everything that we do, say. It controls even what Don Lemon is able to say or not, right? So for him to say woke supremacy, and woke supremacy is really just people waking up and saying, you know what? I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right. That's woke supremacy. Woke supremacy is the George Floyd movement. Woke supremacy is Black Lives Matter. Woke supremacy is say her name, Breonna Taylor. Like, these things, people are getting tired of hearing them because we've been conditioned for hundreds of years to suppress them. You know, anytime a black rival comes up, what they used to do is just kill it, right? So anytime the Black Panther movement comes up and swells up and they're getting all this momentum, and all these people are unifying against the government and the way that we do things, and they're trying to change it, we'll just chop the head off. The head has become a martyr. So the fact that them actually killing George Floyd, instead of, it kind of did the opposite effect of what the United States government is used to. So they're used to killing Martin Luther King and then the momentum stops. Well, they killed George Floyd and now the momentum went way past something that they could control. And I think people are just trying to wrangle back that control of white supremacy. And by Tim Scott making that statement out of his own mouth, just lets us know what kind of black man he is. He's the type of black man that judges other black men when he sees them instead of having compassion on the situation. And we're 3 black men, so a lot of times, a lot of our conversation is skewed towards the viewpoints of black men, but it ain't that many of us, so y'all can learn something. You know what I'm saying?
Wait. I want to know is who defined that as being wolf supremacy? Where did that come from?
Well,
did he just make up a word?
That's what he was implying when they had the conversation. He was implying like the movement right now of being woke. So, you know, I use the hashtag on Facebook a lot, stay woke.
But the difference is they added supremacy on the end of it.
Right.
Black Lives Matter, not supremacy.
No.
Women first, they're not supreme over anything. What are they supreme over?
Yeah, maybe I should have let them play. Control. Yeah, maybe I should have let the clip play a little longer because that's what Don Lemon discussed too, is the fact that he used the word supremacy. And there is no such thing as woke supremacy. It's just being woke. But the way that he termed it, like Are You Serious said, is a little coonish activity.
A little? A little?
Hey, that dude is man, do you know what he does? Like, I want people, I'm not going to even say it. I just want you to Google Tim Scott. If you never really knew what type of laws and what type of man this man is, and all the things that he stands for, just Google Tim Scott and look him up. And you will be surprised. Like, his name isn't Timothy. Like, he should just call himself Timothy from now on. I don't like that dude at all, man.
Yes, but yeah,
when you bring that up, though, I definitely wanted to touch on that.
The problem to me is they can put one black person on, and all of a sudden he represents all the black society. But they put a white person on who does represent white society, and they'll say, oh, he's just an individual. So how come just one black person? You can get a black person to say anything. You can get a black person to have slaves. You can get a black person, they're people just like everybody else. So how does that represent the majority when they're actually in the minority? So then why would they even listen to him? Who is he? I mean, what office does he hold?
He's a senator.
What does he run?
He's a senator, United States senator. I think it's Illinois.
No, but he's saying he doesn't represent
South Carolina.
He's not Black America.
No.
Who is he?
But he represents his state.
Senator.
Yes,
no, he represents the people who voted for him, which were white. That's who he represents. So he doesn't represent us. And even then, that's why I think Dad had a good point, because it's the trick. And once again, they try to make, I've said it before and I'll say it one more time. Let's make the minority the majority and the majority the minority. So what they do is they take one thing that's actually widespread and make it, and when they take a situation that's widespread and try to make it isolated, they try to make an isolated incident widespread based off of how they want the agenda to be played out. Right. And that's what they continue to do.
It's that old,
South Carolina
switch. Watch one hand while we do something else. So now they want to make black people concentrate on this whole wolf thing, which has no merit, no sense at all, doesn't mean anything to anybody. But now they want to make that our agenda, so that they can continue with their agenda on the other side. Mm-hmm. While black people are sitting around here fussing and arguing about somebody said wolf. Well,
I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example of the cat and mouse type situation, or the dumb stuff that Republicans do, right? So what have Republicans been yelling about for years and years and years and years and years? Abortion, right? Right? Pro-life. They have the power to change that right now. They got the Supreme Court. Right? So they have 6-3, isn't it? Or something like that? 6-3?
Mm-hmm. No, they got 63. The Supreme Court.
So they got the Supreme Court. They can change it anytime. Will they? No.
No.
It's too beneficial.
Changed it in 40 years.
They won't change it. But it's a good yelling point for people to be like, well, this is the only reason why I vote for Republicans, because it's pro-choice. If that's off the table, now what are you going to do?
In the meantime, the Republicans are running their agenda, which is their pockets.
Yes.
Let's line our pockets.
Yes.
Let's put up policies so that we can get rich while they're over there arguing and fussing about pro-choice.
Yep.
When they could care less. That's the same thing Trump did. Trump, when he they had people arguing and fussing about the healthcare program. He's like, Obamacare. You know, so everybody's fussing and arguing. Well, we like Trump because he want to get rid of Obamacare. But Trump could care less about Obamacare. He had no plan for healthcare. But what he did get through was a 2017 agenda to save corporate America on taxes. He saved them 17% on corporate taxes and put in a flat tax rate of 20%. He put in a multi-million-dollar deduction that was used to be only $500,000. Now it's $1 million deduction that the corporations could use in 1 year. But nobody even heard about none of that because they was too busy talking about Obamacare. He could care less about Obamacare. But what he wanted was his own agenda. That was what he was doing with the other hand. And it got passed.
You know, I think this Republican Democrat situation is.
So if he was worried about Obamacare, then he'd have put in some places where 500,000 people wasn't dying of COVID. That's how much he cared about healthcare. He could care less about healthcare.
Care less. But yeah, like I was saying, I think Republicans and Democrats worse than the Bloods and Crips, right? Because the Bloods and Crips work together. The Republicans and Democrats refuse to work together, at least. You know, Bloods and Crips, they'll kick it for a little bit. But like not one Republican voted for the relief stimulus package. Not one person that's a Republican said, maybe this is a good way to help America. So what that lets me know, it's not about helping America. It's about riding for the red. You know what I'm saying? It's about riding for your set. It's worse than Bloods and Crips, man. If not one Republican said, I'm going to vote to help these people get this money in their pockets that they desperately need to spend in the economy so that my rich friends can get their money back off, you know what I'm saying? Like the money goes to the rich people.
Not even a lot of money.
The money that they gave the poor people goes back to the rich people. It don't stay with the poor people. So for them not one Republican to vote, it just says so much about the political system that we in today, man.
They don't care.
And Lindsey Graham, you know, we're talking about Tim Scott. He is a South Carolina senator. Lindsey Graham, the minority now, Republican minority leader, backed up Tim Scott's statements on woke supremacy.
Of course he
said the Conservative Party is so glad to have such a good person like Tim Scott. And, you know, they appreciate everything he does. And he speaks for America's Conservative Party.
I'm sure he does. I'm sure he does.
The American Conservative Party, now, like Dad said, one person speaks for them. And according to Lindsey Graham, it's Tim Scott. And what he said was, it's not as bad as white supremacy.
Once
woke
again,
supremacy is worse.
They tried to paint Martin Luther King as a terrorist when he was alive.
They didn't try. They did.
But you know what I'm saying? Like they tried to make him out to be. I said tried because he wasn't, and he isn't. So they tried to make him out to be a terrorist. They tried to make him out to be a terrible person that was against America. And until he died, and then when they can flip the script and be like, well, now we just want y'all to be peaceful, so that way we can still beat y'all in the head and y'all don't do nothing about it. This is the narrative that I want y'all to live by. So this is what I'm saying. They try to take what you do and they try to flip it and then use it against you. So that's why I don't trust none of these fools. Not one. Not one.
No, I think America has been conditioned to live within the system. You know, anytime somebody breaks the system or tries to live outside the system, they got to get brought back into place, right? Because we can have chaos. You know, we need structure. We don't need people thinking they can overthrow the government and stuff like that.
The system's been broke for years.
No, the system ain't broke because we ain't broke it. They still in charge.
That's broke.
You know, I mean,
that's not the way the system was supposed to work. It's supposed to work democratically. That's the system. But the system has been broke for years and years when it started to be a two-party system. And it's all about what
I think it's more that cat and mouse that you was talking about. How the system, how the whole country is set up was the cat, and then the mouse, what it really is something else. But what we think it is what it is, but it really ain't that. You know what I'm saying? I think that's how it is too.
Because I'll show you how stupid it is. The Biden stimulus package that the Republicans didn't want to vote for, that all came from Trump. Trump originated most of that stuff that was in there for the people, for the small business, for the people, and all that money. Trump put that in his bill. But the Republicans didn't even want it when Trump was asking for it. Because the Republicans, all they care about is their own pockets. That's the Republican agenda.
Yeah,
so that's how broke it is. They'll follow Trump off of a cliff. But if he asks you to give the people some money, then they through with it. They don't want to do that.
Yeah, because he did say $1,200 for everybody, though. We got to give him that. He did give it that $1,200 for everybody part. He did give up that.
He said $2,000.
$2,000.
Yeah, that was original Trump. $2,000 per person.
Yep. You're right.
And then the Republicans broke it down to $600.
Mm-hmm.
And then all Biden did was got back the other $1,400 of that Trump bill.
Yep.
But then he added that $600 onto the
to the $1,400. Yeah.
But that's $3 now. It was supposed to be $6 or $4.
Yeah. But then you forget that tax credit that actually is going to be paid out monthly to people with children. So if you get $300 per child, so he's giving a lot of people way more than $1,400. That starts in July or June or something like that for the rest of the year. So from June until December, I forgot the exact date, so don't quote me, but people will get an additional $300 per child for the remainder of the year from that day going forward. So I think that they did enough. Not to mention they put in a clause that most people aren't talking about as well. That could be a setup to forgive student loans. So there's something in there that's like a little Easter egg regarding the student loans about interest. And then they can literally make it so that they're setting it up so you can not have to pay back and the student loans can be forgiven.
Well, Biden didn't want to forgive student loans. That was one of the things he did not want to do.
But that's why they put in that little Easter egg to set it up for later on.
Yeah. So Biden,
if it is possible.
Biden's answer was to give free vocational school training.
Right, which is don't nobody care about that.
Who goes to vocational school these days? I don't know. I don't even know if there's any exists anymore. They don't even call them vocational schools.
They call it Summit Academy.
They call them colleges now.
Yeah, OIC, Summit Academy. That's a vocational school where they teach you like
St.
nursing.
St. Paul Vocational School is now St. Paul College or St. Paul University or something. So they don't even like the name vocational.
Yeah, it's
that
bad.
was this little thing. So
yeah, but they still got them. They just changed what vocations they teach, I guess. Vocations.
Yeah. So yeah, the system's broke because all they care about is each other's political agenda. All they're caring about is what's going to get them elected. So
that's true.
If it'll get them elected to say yes to this week, then that's what they're for this week. If next week it changes to no, then they'll change to no.
That's
why I sent out that little video clip in the group text about that mayor and the little whorehouse, best little whorehouse in Texas. That's politics.
Mm-hmm.
The little sidestep. Oh, what did he say? Where did he go? What? He's like, ooh. Yeah, that's what I like to see. Like,
hold on, I need that. Ooh, one more time. That is the title of this episode. Ooh.
I like it. I like it.
It definitely is. It definitely is.
That was perfect.
But yeah, that's true though.
Oh man, you got caught up in the moment.
I bet you he was ooh for real.
He said, "What? Excuse me? Como say what?
Come again? Come again? Say what? Come again? Say what?"
Oh man!
All right, man. This is it's Real Family Therapy Podcast. Are you serious? We got Dad in the building. I think we can wrap it up, man. There's so much other stuff we could talk about.
I got a
okay,
dad joke.
Well, let's switch it up then.
I got a dad joke this week.
All right, Dad, you got the week off, I guess. Are you serious? Gonna take over? Let's see what you got, brother.
All right, so this barber cutting his hair, cutting the man's hair. Barbershop's full. A man comes in the barbershop and says, "Hey, how long until the next cut?" The dude's like, "Oh, it's about 2 hours." So then the guy leaves, doesn't come back. So then next week the guy comes again and barbershop's full again. He said, "Hey man, how long until the next cut?" He's like, "Probably like an hour and a half." He's like, "All right, cool." He leaves. Comes back again the next week. The dude is like, "Hey man." He's like, "Hey man, how long until the next cut?" Dude's like, "Yo, it's like 2 hours." And the dude leaves. So then he looks over to his partner and says, "Yo, man, I'll give you a free haircut if you follow this dude and see where he goes every time." So the next week he comes in and he asked, "Hey man, how's the next cut?" He looks around, it's about 2 hours, he says. So then he leaves, and then his homeboy jumps and follows him. So the homeboy comes back about like 30 minutes later laughing. I'm talking about laughing. So the barber starts laughing. It's like, "Oh, this is about to be good." So he's like, "Yo, where's he going?" And the dude is like, "Yo, he's going to your house."
Oh Lord! Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. Oh Lord have mercy.
So he knows the coast is clear for at least 2 hours.
Look, you got mom cracking up. You got mom over there cracking up.
Oh Lord.
That was a good one, huh?
That was a good one. That was a good one. Okay.
That was a good one.
That was a good one.
Yeah. I mean, Pops, if you had one, I mean, you can try to beat that one. I don't know.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, we're gonna let that one ride. All right. Well, Dad, do you got any random facts that we could take to work then? Since we're gonna switch it up.
Nah, it takes me a while to look up facts.
So I don't keep any random facts in my pocket.
I ain't in front of my computer right now, so
all right.
I can't bring up random nothing.
Okay. All right. Well, it's been a It's Real Family Therapy Podcast. We got Dad, we got Are You Serious? And we got a special side guest road tripping with Dad this week. We got the beautiful Mama. Hey, Mama. Any last words before we get up out of here?
Nope. I love my mom since it's celebrating Black
Women's History. Okay.
I love my mom.
Okay. Shout out to Grandma Lillian. Are you serious? Any last words?
No, I'm good.
You good. All right. Well, thank y'all. This is episode 10. We wrapping it up. I'm at the crib next week. Hopefully the radio station will be back together.